Today, we're diving into 3 of the most powerful stories ever told. Now, they're ancient, they're superhuman, and you know what? They all hinge on this one single radical idea: the unbelievable joy of finding something that was lost.
So, where does it all begin? Well, it starts with a complaint, right? A muttered criticism from the religious leaders of the day. They see Jesus hanging out, sharing a meal with people they considered sinners, and they are not happy about it. This accusation, which they totally meant as an insult, actually becomes the spark for everything that comes next.
Why? Why would he do that? Why would he associate with the outcasts? Instead of just getting into a direct argument, Jesus does what he does best. He tells a story. Actually, he tells 3 of them, and each one builds on the last to answer that very question. Okay, so let's set the scene here. The crowd that's gathering around Jesus, it's not the religious elite. Nope. It's people from the margins of society, tax collectors, who were basically seen as traitors working for Rome, and other folks just labeled sinners. And it's this very public association that gets the critics talking.
So in response, Jesus doesn't get defensive. He doesn't attack his critics. He just launches into a couple of parables that paint a picture. He's inviting everyone, his critics included, to see the world from a totally different perspective, one that redefines what it means to value something that's gone missing. First up, he asks them to imagine a shepherd. He's got 100 sheep, and one of them wanders off. Now, what's the logical, pragmatic thing to do? You'd secure the 99, right? I mean, that's the bulk of your assets. But this shepherd does the unthinkable. He leaves the 99 out in the open to go hunt for that one single lost sheep.
And get this, when he finds it, he doesn't scold it or drag it back home. The text specifically says he joyfully puts it on his shoulders. The search wasn't some annoying chore. Finding it was a victory. And it's not a private celebration either. The first thing he does is call his friends and neighbors together to celebrate with them. All right, story number 2. Jesus brings the scale way down to a more domestic scene. A woman has 10 silver coins. This was probably her dowry, maybe her entire life savings, and she loses one. That's a huge deal. 10% of her entire net worth, just gone. Her reaction isn't to just shrug it off. It's immediate, and it's intense. And you see it, right? The pattern repeats. Just like that shepherd, she turns her entire world upside down for the one thing that's missing. She lights a lamp, she sweeps the whole house, searching every corner until she finds it. And what's the first thing she does? You guessed it. She calls her friends and neighbors to come and rejoice with her. So the pattern is crystal clear. Something incredibly valuable is lost. The person searching is relentless. And when it's found, it isn't met with quiet relief, but with this huge public party. Jesus is making a really important point here. This kind of celebration on earth is exactly what happens in heaven when one lost person is found. Now, these first 2 stories, they were just the warm-up act. They set the stage for the third and most famous story of them all. Jesus takes that pattern he just laid out, lost, sought, found, rejoiced, and he raises the stakes infinitely. We're not talking about lost property anymore. We're talking about a lost person, a son. The younger son's fall from grace is, well, it's swift and it is total. He demands his inheritance, which in that culture was basically like saying, "Dad, I wish you were dead." Then he goes to a far-off country and just blows through all of it. A famine hits, and he ends up in the most humiliating job you could imagine for a Jewish man, feeding pigs. And he's so hungry, he's actually thinking about eating their food. I mean, this is absolute rock bottom.
And it's right here, in this moment of desperation and shame, that something clicks. He remembers his father's house, where even the hired hands have it better than he does. He decides he's going to go home. He's not expecting to be welcomed back as a son. He just hopes he can get a job as a servant. He even rehearses his apology speech on the way.
So he starts that long walk home, just filled with shame and not knowing what to expect. What kind of welcome is he going to get? A lecture, being disowned, maybe, best case scenario, his dad will grudgingly let him work in the fields. But what happens next just shatters every possible expectation.
The father had been watching, waiting. The second he sees his son on the horizon, he doesn't wait. He runs. Now, in that culture, it was completely undignified for an elder, a patriarch, to run. But his compassion just overrides all of that. He runs to meet his son's shame with pure love. The son starts his little rehearsed speech, but the father pretty much cuts him right off. He doesn't even care about the apology. Instead, he just showers him with these symbols of complete restoration. The best robe for honor, a ring for family authority, and sandals for sonship, Only servants went barefoot. And then, just like the shepherd and the woman, his very first instinct is to throw a massive party.
This is the father's reason for the whole celebration. And listen to that language. It's so absolute. His son wasn't just a little misguided, he was as good as dead. He wasn't just away, he was lost. And now he's found. The parallel to the lost sheep and the lost coin is now complete, and it is profoundly human.
But just when you think the story's over and we can all go home, Jesus adds this brilliant final twist. See, this story isn't just about the son who was lost and came back. It's also about the one who never left.
The older son, he's coming in from a hard day's work in the fields. He hears music and dancing, and he finds out there's a party for his reckless, disgraced little brother. And he is furious. He just stands outside, refusing to even go in and join the celebration. His sense of fairness is completely outraged. His speech to his father is just dripping with resentment. He doesn't say he's been working, he says he's been slaving. And notice, he can't even say, my brother. He calls him this son of yours. All he can see is the injustice of it all. He followed the rules, he did his duty, and his reward is watching the rule breaker get the big part.
And this is where the real tension is, isn't it? One son was physically lost, but now he's found. The other son was physically there the whole time, but now he is completely lost in his own anger and resentment. He's standing right outside his father's house, but he's just as lost as his brother ever was in a distant country.
So the father comes out to plead with him, and he repeats the exact same reason for the party. But this time, it's not a declaration of joy, it's an appeal. He gently corrects him, saying, this brother of yours, trying to invite him back into the family, inviting him to share in the joy of finding what was lost.
And that's where the story ends. It's left unresolved. We never find out if the older brother goes inside, and that's the genius of it. The question just hangs there in the air, aimed squarely at the original critics, and, well, at us. They are the older brother. They stayed home, they followed all the rules, but in their resentment, have they completely missed the point? The final question is a challenge. Is it possible to be standing right inside the Father's house and still be completely and utterly lost?